Hey everybody, it's Corey Minton back with another edition of Lights Out at Splunks.conf21. It has been a wild and crazy couple of days for all those folks who have been attending .conf, and I'm super happy to have joining me our buddy Kyle Prinz. Kyle, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, man. A little bit of life update. I became a dad 20 days ago, which is why you haven't seen a ton of me around this past week. I've been home dealing with bringing data to diapers and babies, and
You've spunked your
it's
baby already,
been
haven't you? Be honest.
absolutely a little bit, man. We might have bought a baby app based upon what you can and cannot Splunk, and man, it's been absolutely awesome. Uh, Super loved it, but man, have I missed out. I've missed you
We've
guys.
missed you, buddy. Like honestly,
I,
it's
yeah.
the Data Drivers team is back at it in their broadcast booth together, and we're super excited to have some fun with you all tonight. We are currently in race number 3 of Lights Out at .conf, and this is a championship racing series powered by Splunk. And what we're doing is we're inviting folks around the world to come racing with us on iRacing, which is what you're seeing right here, and or I should say, seeing up there above our heads. And we've got folks literally from around the world, including a professional esports driver named Blake Reynolds, driver of the 66 Coca-Cola eNASCAR for the team at McLaren's Shadow. So pretty excited to have Blake back. He's
I I I'm super stoked, but at the same time, I've been throwing down like second, third place, feeling really good about it. And now to Blake show up just to set a new baseline. It's just gonna be a shot to the ego for me. But I'm glad to see him. But yeah, it's just gonna selfishly it's gonna hurt a little bit.
That's right. Well, he is going to be piloting the MX5 car today, much like everybody else
Yeah.
you're seeing on track. And the reason we did that was a Mazda Miata is a pretty entry level race car. It's what the Sports Car Club of America uses as kind of like their spec car. They are a ton of fun. I've actually driven one around Laguna Seca,
Have
and
you
they are,
really?
yeah, they're, oh yeah, I fit surprisingly. They did put the fat boy seat in it, but
What?
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So Splunk, for those of you who don't know, we work for Splunk. It's a software company. We bring data to racing and esports in really interesting and unique ways. Partners, we're a technology partner of McLaren and their Shadow Esports team, which is pretty awesome. We actually had Lando Norris, driver of the number 4 car for McLaren in the F1 series, and Zach Brown, CEO of McLaren Racing, join us at .conf virtually and help us
Yeah.
kick off. And they showed some. I don't know. Did you see the visualizations and stuff they were showing on stage?
I caught a little bit of it.
So cool.
We were right in the middle of a baby meltdown, so I had to step away.
That's right.
But
Well,
I did save it, and that's the good part of virtual.conf. I can go back and rewatch it.
that's
But
right.
yeah, what exactly did I miss? Share some
Well,
spoilers
just
around
really
that.
cool 3-dimensional sort of overview of a car, visualizing that there's more than 300 sensors on the car producing something like 100,000 records a second based on the velocity at which they're creating metrics. They
Wow.
said that in a race session, like a single session on track, they create about 15 terabytes of data, and like in as they're just in a practice session, which is wild. And
Holy.
they're using Splunk on track to absolutely monitor the critical systems that make the race team competitive. They've got more than 30 engineers, looking at the data, much like we're going to show you here in a minute. Kyle's going to show you some really cool stuff with some telemetry we've built. But it was just a really cool talk, and it was really inspiring to hear them also talk about the fact that like McLaren is, yeah, it's a race team. We all see him on the track and we're all excited. We see him on Netflix and we're like, man, Lando's so cool. Daniel Ricciardo's so fun doing shoeies. But they're also a business. Like they're very much a business that has to, not only produce a great product in a race, right? Get a car on track and be
Mhm.
successful, but they also are a manufacturer of a large number of the components that go into other F1 cars. So they're the supplier of most of the electronics. And so they talked about how they're using Splunk to actually monitor those critical business systems that actually allow McLaren to be a profitable, well-run business. So really looking at
Mm.
that business service monitoring and really using it as a core. They view, at least as in Zach's words, they view Splunk as a core partner in their digital transformation journey. And I think that my favorite term that Zach said, he said, Splunk has helped McLaren stay at the bleeding edge of tech and really lead F1 in the technology evolution. So that was really encouraging. And if you haven't checked out Splunk, go to splunk.com for who we are. We're a cybersecurity, IT ops, and DevOps data platform that Kyle and I work for them as in, I think, the best job in the company personally.
Yeah.
We're the strategists,
Most fun.
which is basically a code word for I'll steal it from Ryan Kovar, our only distinguished strategist at Splunk. He said, "I have enough. There's enough gray in our beards to be relevant." So we've been doing this job long enough. We've seen a lot of things that we help build a lot of the tools and capabilities that our field sales engineers go and help our customers use to solve problems and kind of understand our tech. And one of the things that we run is this program called Data Drivers. And Data Drivers was a 6-part series over the last 6 months where we went doing much like we're doing here. We would have a race on iRacing. And then the next day, we would actually invite all of you guys to come and actually do a hackathon with us. And we'd get, some pretty interesting folks to give us some challenges. Kyle, in your words, like, what did you think, feel about the hackathon? How was that a useful experience?
I thought the hackathons were super cool because when you deal with IT and tech industry, when you get your hands on a product, it's either very click through and learn how to do it, or
did you see Blake drifting this? He's literally doing this on purpose.
See, here's the thing: he's so good, he's just having fun at this point.
Because
I would be freaking out trying to get my best lap time.
He's already got a 2:32 in qualifying, so he's like, these knuckleheads aren't going to catch me.
I give up. I'm trying hard, and I'm excited for a 2:37.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with us, I picked this up 2 years ago, and I'd say I race semi regularly.
Yeah.
I don't race at all. I drive a Jeep, like the least aerodynamic vehicle there is. A cow is more aerodynamic than a Jeep, and that's okay. Yeah. But I'm not good at this, and it's so disheartening to see somebody as good as him do that. But anyways,
it's a lot of time
back to hackathons. Yeah, hackathons. I really liked this because we were able to get our hands on fun data sets, relevant data sets that we were able to be a part of just earlier that week. And what's really cool about this is that we were able to chronologically show all of this. So because it is on the internet, you can go look at it and see it for forever. And if you want to get caught up with it, please go check it out. We're still an active community on Discord, which we can share later. We'll drop a link down in the chat or get you all connected later on. But Corey, I'm noticing our screens have gone blank.
So the qualifier is over. And
okay.
So the way the race is going to work is we just had a 10-minute qualifying session. The drivers were out there, getting their fastest possible lap time and a clean lap, where they don't go off track, they don't bump into somebody, to get their good qualifying lap in. And that timing of who runs the fastest laps sets our starting positions. And so the race will be back shortly with it's just finishing up the qualifying now. So we're just pulling up so you can see the timing there in the top left corner. And I'll explain some of this in a second because this is actually kind of rad what we're doing here. But they're going to grid up. So the course is resetting. It's going through some sort of staging and caching things. But the cars will come on track in the order that they qualified. And when the lights go out, which is why it's called lights out, we're going to be racing underway, and we'll have a 20-minute race. And given these lap times, that's probably 10-ish, maybe 9-ish laps here at the Circuit of the Americas, which is a wildly huge track. Like it's a almost 3.5 mile track. We chose Circuit of the Americas because Kyle loves it.
Yeah. Okay. So aside from torturing me and you being from Texas, was there a specific reason you chose this track? I mean, nothing against Texas. What else do we need? This track is hard.
Why would we need? Like, you literally named the two best reasons. I get to torture you, and I'm a Texan. Okay, there's one more reason. It's because McLaren's going to be actually racing at this track this weekend in the U.S. Grand Prix, and so we thought, given that our conference is like timed perfectly, McLaren was, on stage with us. And, actually McLaren, we'll talk about in a minute, Edward Green, their technology architect, gave a really awesome talk. Like, it all just worked out. So we were like, let's do CODA. It's the only correct thing to do.
Okay, so it wasn't just torturing me.
I mean, I would say that had the lion's share of the support.
Leading factor of it. Yeah, I understand.
Maybe.
Why you got to kick him
So
in while he's down? That's all I'm
yeah,
saying.
it's all right. You'll be okay. So
No, this
as
track
it
is no
resets,
joke.
yeah, as it resets, we'll be showing you some things. Actually, Kyle, I'm going to bring up your data screen here, full screen for just a second,
Yeah,
and let's give the folks just a quick sort of overview of some of the things that we're showing here.
yeah, absolutely. So we actually walked through this in hackathon number, was it 3? I believe,
Actually,
Corey.
hang on one second,
Yep.
Kyle. I'm sorry, the grid's coming back up. I want to pull up and
Yeah.
show the grid position. So Blake Reynolds, our pro driver for McLaren Shadow, takes the pole. So congrats to him for
Shocking.
winning that. And we've got Jeremy Howerton doing a pretty good job. Oh, and
Hey,
apparently I have a typo in my my overlay. Let's see here. There it is. Let me fix that.
it's
All right,
just
they're
added
racing.
finesse.
They are racing, y'all. So here we go. Looks like Tim Hard in the beautifully painted Miata, fellow strategist out of the Michigan area racing. Let's go see
And
how
a
Blake
great
Reynolds
DJ.
and a fantastic DJ. Oh, look at him getting squirrely around that corner.
Ooh,
I mean, that's
you gotta watch yourself on this track and those Miatas. It's a momentum car.
yeah.
You got to be careful with those because if those tires aren't warmed up, it gets rather squirrely on you, especially on this track because it is a lot of swinging going on out there.
It is. This section right here, you can see, I mean, you see the back end, how it is literally in a slide in this car. What'll be fun to watch, Kyle, is actually how quickly those tire temps on the rears heat up, especially in that, basically turn 3 to 7 or turn 3 to 8 section is going to be wild. But he is driving that thing at the absolute edge of traction. It's
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
which why we were actually talking with him ahead of the race during some of the practice, and Blake was telling us that one, I heard him say it. He didn't know I was still on, but Blake actually said that he actually gets really excited to race with the Splunk Data Drivers team because he is a total data guy. He is like really into understanding the how the data can impact his success and trying to learn. And so he's like, every time I get on here, like I learn something, I find out a new thing that we might be able to do. So, anyways, I was just really glad. But one of the things that he was talking about was he has a new sim rig set up, and he was talking about that the direct drive wheel that he just invested in. It gives so much like clear feedback that he was like, I can feel the shape of the curbs, in the wheel, and so he's able
Wow.
to take those inputs and translate it into his input back to the wheel to drive this car in a what is already a blistering lap.
Yeah, it is absolutely impressive what you can do, and it is absolutely impressive what we're able to simulate and show. Corey, this is not just a game. It's not gaming. And I tell my wife, no, I'm not gaming. It's a racing simulator. This is work. But
Yeah, it's a
it
real
is,
thing.
yeah, it is real, and it's absolutely fascinating. Like
Oh
John right
no.
here.
John Labaugh has a little trouble with navigating that section there. Let's see if we can get their names up on the map here. So, for those of you who hadn't seen these races before, we're using some really slick software called SDK Gaming, and the team has built this really beautiful API that pulls data from iRacing and allows us to control the overlays in a really slick way. And then Kyle was the mastermind behind the tools that we're using to showcase our racing metrics. And so I'm going
Yeah,
to pull up and see if I can swap some things around. That's not a very good, easy way to see it. Let's do it this way.
there we go. Yeah, so this is actually built using our Splunk Observability Cloud or Ollie Cloud. And if you've been watching at all any of .conf, you've seen quite a bit of our Observability Cloud offering. So this is us actually using real-time dashboarding and visualizations to see what's going on across the track down to 1 second granularity. But what's really cool about this is we were able to build that custom Python script, have it inject the metrics into it. Thank you to Tim Hard for that help as well. Not only is he a fashionable racer, but a wonderful coder as well. And through here, we were able to do wonderful things like lay out our metrics in a way that we thought was relevant and relative for us. So we wanted to see speed as it goes over time to then understand whether a car was slowing down or speeding up based upon where it was in the lap, Same for RPMs. Corey, one of my favorite charts here with throttle and brake,
Yeah.
just because we got to incorporate some custom colors into it and really kind of show off the fine tuning and the finessing you can do with this product overall. So
Yep.
here, of course, then throttle being green, brake being this hot pink, which really pops across that dark schema, that dark mode schema. But
Yep.
being able to then see the inverse of it, where Blake isn't necessarily letting a car just kind of coast, but is absolutely throwing down the brake where he can and then flipping it back to a throttle. So not
Look at
exactly
the
doing
drift.
much trail braking, but really
Did you,
hitting it hard.
did you see that drift around that corner?
No, what's he
I
got
mean,
going?
oh gosh, I wish I'd had that full screen. I'm so sorry. He absolutely he was not he wasn't NASCAR driving there. That was Tokyo Drift. I'm not kidding. Car was full turning the steering wheel to full lock the other direction.
Oh, and here he is off the track of it having some fun with
So
this.
so funny thing, he actually brought this up, and this is I think this is what we're seeing here because he already knows, hey, I'm going to be penalized because actually we need to talk about that. There's another
Yeah,
race.
what?
So there's
Okay.
another race, and it's the championship, and it's tomorrow. So we've got super excited that we've got 7 drivers online tonight with us. That's super fun to have folks that are
Huge.
from around
Yeah.
the world. We've got folks from Europe, and by the way, Tarek, you'll clue he's up really late, or he's up very early. I think it's actually very early is probably the accurate term. Um, he's racing with us. We got a bunch of dudes in the U.S. racing with us, and everybody's trying to qualify for the championship race tomorrow. And tomorrow at let's see, it's at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So that'd be 12 p.m. Central for where we are, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and like late afternoon, depends on where you are in Europe. But we're going to have a race on this same track, broadcast on this same channel, but we're going to be putting the drivers in a variety of cars based on their best lap times recorded during the
Oof.
race. And so Blake, really, it doesn't matter if he wins the race. He's already run a 2:33 lap time, which is going to mean he's probably the fastest in the group, which means he's
Yep.
getting the slowest car. So we're actually going to put the drivers, if you take the bottom of the field, the bottom folks, the bottom of the field, meaning the slowest drivers, we're going to put them in a McLaren F1 car. And then the middle of the field, we're going to put in a McLaren GT3 car, which is, quite a bit slower than the F1. And then we're going to put Blake and maybe one or two other people who are really fast, like John Hayward, our silent assassin of the iRacing
Oh,
series. He's so
that
fast.
guy.
We'll potentially put them or all of them in a 1987 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, the Dale Earnhardt Monte Carlo that actually Zach Brown, CEO of McLaren, owns Dale
Yeah.
Earnhardt's 1987 McLaren or Monte Carlo, and Daniel Ricciardo made a bet with him. He said, "When I win a race for McLaren, you have to let me drive the Dale's car around a racetrack." And so he's actually doing that. I think it may be tomorrow that he's actually doing it. We'll have to look and see if we can find it. But yeah, so we're going to put people literally. You're going to have F1 cars, GT3 cars, and 1987 stock car racers on the same track at the same time, all sending data. So we'll actually be able to look at the data and actually see some differences in the types of cars and kind of what's happening. So that should be absolute magic.
Corey, I see this going wonderfully chaotic.
I think that's the right answer.
If I'm able to race tomorrow, I think I want to pull for the GT3 car
Yeah.
because the F1 car just scares the pants off of me, and the Monte Carlo, well, I don't have the finesse of that. That takes some work and some talent, which I'm just not capable of. So if I can ever work an angle, I think I'll take that GT3 car. I know that one pretty well. So
Yeah.
put a word in.
Well, one thing that Blake was telling us before the race, he was like, he said, depends on how, he's an iRacing pro. Like he knows this thing. This is the platform that he like lives in. He's like literally making a living, doing this stuff. He said, depends on how you've got this set up. But he's like, it looks like you've got it set up loose enough in terms of the like the incident points, which in some races, the way that the simulator works to keep people from just, wrecking all the time and acting like knuckleheads, you have these things called incident points. And so it's like anytime you go off the track, you bump into somebody, you have a wreck, you spin out, they get incident points. And depending on how those incident points are penalized, they can like make you, take a 30-second delay. They can send you back to the pits. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice that you have a lot of those set up. He's like, so honestly, you could probably just straighten out all those corners on Coda because there's so much concrete. He's like, you could just drive straight through them and you could put down some really fast lap times. So I think that he probably plans on driving that that Monte Carlo straight across the track tomorrow to
Just
optimize
gonna
his
see
camp.
an absolute missile running forward. Yeah. One thing I did notice out of all this is we do have the iRacing ranking going off to the right of each
Yeah,
of the drivers' names and times there. And you can see the R for recruit or rookie, people who are new to iRacing. You see D class, which is the next iteration, C, B, and A class. And we know Blake Reynolds as a master oval driver.
yeah.
So you would think A class for him, but we're in circuit racing. This is not
This is road
drive
racing.
fast turn left. Yeah. And here he is with an A rating as well in this. So this is just an absolute testament to what you were saying earlier of he lives and breathes this racing simulator. It's absolutely fascinating to see him on the track
Dude's just
and
fast.
intimidating as well.
I do love the little battle that we've got here between third place Ryan Plass, Tim Hard, and Tarek. Like they are like look at this. Look at
Oh,
some
wow.
racing action. They've been trading positions back
Yeah.
and forth. We had Tim Hard get an undercut. Look at Tim Hard trail breaking in there.
That.
I do
Wow.
love to see, like, if you notice on these cars, there's so much attention to detail that the brake calipers, when they come off of a hard straightaway, if you look, the brake calipers glow red because
Oh,
they, like,
really?
literally in a race car, they would actually like get so hot that they would glow red. And it literally happens in the simulator. You can see it on the screen. Like it's pretty stunning.
Look at Tim with those racing lines, man. He is
So let's take a
he's
look at
just
Tim's
doing
data.
it.
Come on. Can you pull up
Yeah, let's pull it
Tim's
up.
data?
Sorry
Let's
about that.
pull him up here. I'm going to put data up screen. We'll see what happens in
I
the
don't
race.
think Tim is generating data, believe it or
Oh, the
not.
punk's not generating. Let's take a look at
Shame, shame, shame.
let's look at Ryan Plass.
Yeah, similar
I'm going to zoom
similar
in. So
driving times.
I wanted to actually say something too, like you're seeing this dashboard. We're able to, this is not smoke and mirrors. This is a real time, like data is
Mm-hmm.
streaming in real time. You can see, if you notice their lap 5 in the kind of the far right hand side of the dashboard. That's what lap Ryan is on here in the race. So it's absolutely a real time engine for metrics data, which I think is, I wanted to make sure that was abundantly clear to folks that this is not recorded. This is a live race
No,
happening, and we're streaming data in real time.
running about a 2-minute 40-second lap time. With that being in seconds, 160 seconds.
Yep.
Doing some math there. Good to
Oh, you're
go.
so good at math.
Telling you, I got it. Hey, look at me.
I was actually
one
just
thing
thinking. There's another dashboard. I'm gonna have to. I'll send you a link to it. It's one that I was tinkering with earlier. I forgot to send you, but I want to look at we started building charts for lap time deltas and how much like improvement tracks where their folks were having. So we'll come back to that in a second. But the throttle,
man.
I do want to look at. So look at the throttle and brake, and maybe zoom out, Kyle, to like a 5-minute time window.
Okay.
And
Which is kind of fun. We get to do this on the fly.
why not? Let's get weird. So basically, what you're seeing there, is it's literally the input levels of how much throttle is he giving versus how much brake. And one thing that you can tell the reason why Ryan is running a good race is he's not spending a lot of time where he's flat. Like it's either on the gas and really in the gas, to where
Yeah.
he's been off the and he's like in the brake really hard. You see that there's similar sort of almost full peak, in the brakes, and then back in the gas very rapidly. And that's endemic of a pretty rapid lap time. And I'd be curious if you can bump to Blake Reynolds to see if they look similar, to compare, sort of what that.
Look at that.
And see, his is
Wow.
even more peaky, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the differences you see between professional drivers is that, especially in these cars, they're a sequential transmission. So there's really, there's not much you have to do. There's no clutching.
Yeah.
There's no need to lift off the gas when you're going through the gears. Blake did say that he's blipping on downshifts, which means that you're giving as you hit the downshift, you tap the gas pedal to blip the RPMs to get them up to match. I didn't have to do that in the Miata when I ran practice laps. So the fact that I didn't blow up my car
Interesting.
maybe is impressive.
He might be running a different setup within iRacing as well. You know,
Could be.
he is pretty good at tuning those things, so he might be running something special that's requiring it. I'm not, you know, it's a
I'm not
whole
saying it, but
level of magic that he runs under the hood.
it's true. Well, it is pretty interesting to see that throttle and brake trace. That is
Mm-hmm.
one. The other one that we when we, as part of some of the things that Kyle and I have done in the past at Big Data Beard, we talked with some folks in racing that built this thing called the Apex Digital Driving Coach, and the chart that they like to look at from a speed metric or from a metrics chart is the speed traces over time. So like, how long are you spending like accelerating versus staying at the same speed versus like how rapid are your accelerations? And that's one that I want to come back to here in a minute, Kyle. Is look at the speed trace and we kind of talk through some how they're performing on some of the laps. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention is that this data driver series that we did was it was designed to be one fun and two like inviting for people that maybe didn't know Splunk well, or even if you knew Splunk well, but you'd never really used the observability cloud and IT service intelligence. We walked folks through, those tools in detail, how to deploy them, how to use the capabilities, all applied to racing, even though you literally could take some of those same skills and go do things in a job in observability, in application development, in IT operations, running the knock, that kind of stuff. And we're not done. We're very much not done with that series. Like we don't have another one fired up yet. But here in the next months, we will be firing it back up, and we've got some fun ideas. And Kyle, I'd love to just from your perspective, like when you think about the
Yeah.
future of data drivers, what are some of the things that you think would be most interesting for us to tackle from a racing perspective?
Oh man. I mean, from racing together, you know, iRacing is just one facet of the e-racing and sim racing community. There are plenty of other platforms that we could be following. So I think it would be interesting, you know, just from our friends at the Logitech G Challenge. You know, we've seen Assetto Corsa Competizione. We've seen um, F1 2021 show up. We've seen iRacing show up. I think it would be really cool to be able to pull in metrics and information and data from those other racing platforms and see what we can pull out of that. Now, that is a heavier lift just because we do have to go back to the drawing board of being able to pull all of this data in and figure out how we're going to do the data collection and data aggregation, but then being able to pull it in and see what kind of value and information we can pull out of that against the different platforms will be super cool. On top of that, too, I think maybe if we were able to build it together as a common platform where maybe we could offer back, hey, here's a sample visualizations
Yeah.
of what we can do with sim racing and make it simple for people who, hey, maybe they want to tackle Forza, maybe they want to tackle a new platform that's out. You know, we could build an easy way for them to do that. I think would be pretty slick to do. At least that's what keeps me tinkering on this.
Well, I can say
Any
this. I know Blake wants you to tinker on specifically on the how do we take historical races that maybe were run in a place where we didn't actually stream the data live to Splunk
Mhm.
Observability Cloud or otherwise, like stream to Splunk. We don't. It's one of those where it's like it's historical data that we could load in batch that has enough metadata that it could explain to us some really interesting um, insights. Number one on car setup, and so I go back to like no matter what data project you're doing, like everything has to have a business use case. And in like this case, racing is like, how do I go faster? And the things that we hear over and over about the race teams is, help us understand how to manage our pit strategy because the pit strategy is crucial in these long races like F1 and NASCAR to success. And even Blake Reynolds mentioned that like he literally in the Coca-Cola NASCAR championship, he lost, he ended up in 23rd place because he made a pit decision that then he thought other people were going to go in a similar pit and he lost the draft and he couldn't recatch them. So when he came out of the pit, like that pit decision is the reason why he didn't finish in the top 20. And so that's one that I
Mhm.
think we can do in real time. But the one that we want to do that's kind of a post process is how do you take the data from like the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sessions that Blake has run And how do we take that data and then start to give them valuable insights by applying machine learning to say what are the things that are most highly correlated to fast lap times and successful racing. And there's so much you can do like in this platform, y'all. Like we talked about this in our session yesterday at Conf. Like there's so many metrics. Like there's literally metrics coming off of these simulators on how much spring deflection there is on all four corners of the car, meaning like how much is the wheel bouncing in real time as it goes across the track. And you can see things like, from an aerodynamics perspective, especially in NASCAR, you can see things like, as the car is hitting its top speed, how much spring deflection is happening purely from a downforce perspective, and are we optimally setting that downforce in a tune that we, the things that we can control to make the car go as fast as possible. Because if you have enough downforce, if you have more downforce, it's hard to go faster, but it's easier to stay on the track and turn in. And so you have to strike that balance. So that's what I'm really excited to see, the team kind of work on batch processing historical race data and then
Yeah.
applying those insights to actionable pre-race intelligence on how to make the cars go faster. And that's one that I know the McLaren team is excited about.
Yeah, it'll just be absolutely fascinating to be able to see what insights we can gather out of this now that we have a tool that can do it, whether that's in real time or
now Blake's having fun. Now Blake is having fun because he's got the white flag. The white flag is out. We're about to be wrapped up here. Blake Reynolds, congratulations on winning. And he's putting on a show for you, folks. He's letting that Miata get a little drifty. Hold on, I got to go in the cockpit with him. Let's see if he's going to. Let's see what it looks like to ride in there with him.
That is one thing I didn't realize about these cars is they are open roof.
He's like, I won the race. It's burnout time, y'all. Actually, will you pull up his race trace on that dashboard? I want to see.
Oh yeah.
See his throttle. You need some guidance on how to do burnouts better, Kyle. So I want to see if we can get you some insight.
Wow. Yeah, I did struggle yesterday with it a bit. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, hey everybody, I want to say thank you for hanging out with us on Lights Out. Hopefully you enjoyed .conf. Those of you who were lucky enough to participate in the Boss of the Ops series and played the Data Drivers games, we thank you. It actually, I don't think we've said this anywhere publicly yet, but the Data Drivers, actually we did at the end of it. Data Drivers was the most played games at all of .conf for the Boo series. And so it's super humbling that we get to create like fun game experiences for you all, and that many people really played it and enjoyed it and gave us great feedback on how to make it better next time too. So thank you for that. And be sure to tune in tomorrow. We're going to have this race. Will be fun. I mean, honestly, if for no other reason than seeing cars of this level of disparity in skill, in capabilities, driven by folks that have such a giant disparity in their skill sets, should be magical. But come back. We're going to have McLaren Shadow Esports driver Blake Reynolds driving with us once again. And Kyle, thank you for coming out of dad mode for a moment to get the Data Drivers band back together.
Hey, thanks, man. It felt great to jump back into work mode. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate the invite.
He's back, y'all, but he's not back. He's going to go away again.
Yeah,
but we are going to have some fun. Actually, I'm excited. We got Jenna Eagle, another strategist on our team, who's going to be my co-host tomorrow, and we're going to go back to the 3-person stage. I've got Robert Castley joining us tomorrow. Yeah. Robert is a rock star leader of development teams in big global organizations, now working for us as part of the observability strategist team. And he's an absolute car geek, F1 nut. And he's going to be our data steward tomorrow to walk us through some insights that he's found. And I think he's cooking up some new dashboards because he's probably better at it than us. So we're excited to have him back. And we will have, again, those folks joining us from McLaren. But as we always say, thank you, Kyle, for joining me, buddy. Whatever you're into, be data-driven and join Data Drivers.